Olá pessoal, tudo bem? Mais uma vez aqui estamos no Congresso da Oncologia DOR, estamos na oportunidade de gravar o nosso podcast da Oncologia DOR e hoje estamos com uma presença extremamente especial, Dr. Simon Heeke. Dr. Simon Heeke é da Alemanha, mas ele trabalha no MD Anderson com processos especiais de diagnóstico de biópsia líquida, principalmente de coisas ligadas ao pulmão, pescoço, e vem estudando isso nos últimos anos. Dr. Heeke é extremamente jovem. Nós vamos fazer essa entrevista em inglês. Eu vou fazer a apresentação dele para vocês agora. So, welcome, Dr. Heeke. It's a pleasure to have you here. I hope you enjoy Brazil, you enjoy our Congress. Dr. Heeke is the head of Translational working group on liquid biopsy and assistant professor in MD Anderson Cancer Center. His research focuses on developing a new biomarkers for lung, head, and neck cancers, using tissue and liquid biopsies in innovative clinical trials. So, welcome again.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. So, Dr. Heeke, oncology is involved happily with new technology and discoveries. In your view, what are the most exciting developments shaping the future on cancer diagnosis and treatment?
This is a very good question. I think generally it's very interesting to see how technology in general evolved and how quickly it evolves. And the answer that I'm going to give you today might be very different next year when we saw that many new technologies are actually reaching clinical care. I think just in the past year, we saw so many new exciting developments. We saw, for example, speaking as somebody excited about liquid biopsies, the first screening test for cancer, for example, liquid biopsies, specifically in colorectal cancer. We've been talking and working on it for years, for a decade at least, and now we really see that, for example, we can use liquid biopsy for cancer screening, what I believe is a really, really new and groundbreaking new development. But generally, I feel like that precision medicine itself still continues to evolve quite a lot. We saw a couple of years ago when we saw the first, targeted therapies, for example, for EGFR mutations and lung cancer. Everybody got excited about this. We saw a lot new targeted treatments that were developed. And then everything seemed to slow a little bit down and everybody was excited, like, oh, we have cracked it. We know how to treat cancer. And then we realized that actually we don't know. And now we see, in my opinion, a big uptake of novel therapies that are introduced into the clinic. We saw novel, therapies targeting cell surface antigens. We saw T-cell engagers, CAR or other T-cell therapies, novel liquid biopsies, novel targeted therapies. We at the MD Anderson are increasingly using, in many places as well, like using targeted therapies in combination with other therapies like local consolidative therapy. So it seems like we have all this new uptake of therapies coming, and now we're in the situation that we have to rethink how can we develop biomarkers for it. Because we have all those new therapies evolved so quickly that we are now starting to struggle, like which patient should actually get which of those new technologies. So I feel like that's like a very exciting phase that we are now from very much, we understand precision medicine, we understand targeted therapies, to being forced to go back on the drawing board. How do we want to shape precision medicine with all those new therapies hitting the clinic?
It's interesting because in the last 3 or 5 years, we do not have this kind of evolution. And every year we have a lot of different biomarkers in different types who allow us to do this personalized medicine and treatment, how you said, getting forward and the diagnosis try to reach, and now we have the diagnosis getting forward and the treatment try to reach. So it's important competition, and we work together to do this more precision treatment to our patients. And do you think for next years will be the huge difference for patients, or we have different things to happen?
I think we have to think what means for the patients. I think in clinical trials, we will definitely see it more. For example, what we were doing was a very interesting study in small cell lung cancer. It was small cell lung cancer is a cancer where we didn't have any biomarkers in the past decades. We had the introduction of immunotherapy, but irrespective of biomarkers like PD-L1, so there were no biomarkers, and there are still no biomarkers in small cell lung cancer. What we did, for example, we were developing relatively complex but very innovative transcriptional biomarkers. So we defined small cell lung cancer subtypes. We understood that there are 4 different transcriptionally defined small cell lung cancer subtypes, and we were building and developing novel biomarkers based on RNA-seq, based on transcriptional data. And we are very enthusiastic to actually launch the first clinical trial, prospective clinical trial, based on those transcriptional biomarkers actually this year. And now we see much more of those transcriptionally defined cancer subtypes, let it be small cell lung cancer or other cancers, that are slowly starting to be introduced in clinical trials. So I believe that for the clinical trial landscape, yes, we will definitely see more uptake of those biomarkers. Does it mean that we will see it in routine clinical care? I'm a little bit more pessimistic. I think we still have to do much more work and really have to confirm that the ideas in biomarker development that we are having actually provide clinical benefit. But at least for the clinical trial landscape, yes, I'm very optimistic that we will see a huge change in the next 1 or 2 years here.
So it's a game change you have now, but you have to take care
Exactly.
to look around how it's the best biomarker we're going to have in a few years or next months. We don't know. I hope your study will be very helpful for us, and we have this differential to help our patients. About our Congress, how do you think it's the difference to coming to Brazil, a different country, to try to show our study? How do you think your study will impact us here in our practical assistance for our patients?
I mean, for me, it's a huge honor actually to be here. And I have to say, the Congress started this morning. I was only attending one session, and the quality was absolutely outstanding. It was really, on a scientific perspective, I don't see any differences to other conferences. The question that were discussed this morning were the same question that we've seen everywhere. If I go to Europe, if I go to Latin America, if I'm in the United States, I think globally, scientifically, we are really facing the same challenges scientifically that we have to adopt. What I like really about being here is, I think, Brazil is a country with more than 200 million people. It's a huge place. When we compare it to places like Europe, for example, I'm from Germany. Brazil has more inhabitants than like the 3 largest European countries. So it's a place where we really have to think about how can we bring biomarkers here? What are unique local challenges, for example? Because Brazil is still, I think, a country which is has a relatively low population density, which provides unique challenges. But it's very comparable to the United States, for example. So what I want to present later today in my talk, for example, is how we can leverage, for example, liquid biopsies, meaning that we just take, a blood drop and use this to define, for example, targetable alterations as a very simple and straightforward way to access precision medicine when getting a tissue biopsy is much more challenging because people have to travel, because we probably don't have locally the infrastructure to do this. So I believe that Brazil is not really unique in this sense, because we really have to think about how can we bring precision medicine to the patient and not the patient to precision medicine. So therefore, I'm very excited to be here and also hear the Brazilian perspective on it and the solutions that you have developed here to really ensure that you have the most impact on your patients locally.
And you told me part of your team is from Brazil. So I think we are very well in this subject, because we have part of our physicians work with you there. And probably this technology will be soon in Brazil, because we have our guys working with you there.
I want to be very honest. Your technology is in Brazil. I'm very impressed about the really diagnostic infrastructure that you have here. Like, I see most of the technology you're already using. And like you said, the Brazilian colleagues I'm working with are absolutely outstanding. Actually, I was going through the studies that I'm going to present today, and there's not a single study there where there was not at least one Brazilian majorly involved in the trials there. But it's very important. You have the technology here. The technologies are not very different than to what I see in the United States. And I think right now it's just we have to see how we can shape them to ensure that the technology is not here, that the technology is not used, but that the technology impacts clinical care and ultimately the patients.
Dr. Heeke, thank you so much for your time. Once again, thank you for coming, and I hope you have a very important speech today, and I will be there to see your presentation.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here today. Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, pessoal. Terminamos aqui o nosso bate-papo com o Dr. Heeke, uma exposição interessantíssima sobre biópsia líquida. Espero que vocês tenham gostado.